It's important for research scholars not to wait for me to do my evaluation of what I found about the Axis superstory of Hitler Reagan semiotics. It came in the back door of Hollywood and represents Europe and European domination over the United States with the help of the enemy within. We don't like to think of people who live with us and beside us and help care for us as enemies. But when a godfather emerges and starts killing elected statesmen, then it's time to question our inhibitions about calling those who target us and make us their enemies the same in return. I don't like the language any better than you do. But the enemy within was originally intended by Bobby Kennedy to discuss Godfather politics, the underworld, which we now know included an Axis cunning. The super story emerges in the backgrounds of so many movies that I have had to parse my time very wisely to put together representative samples of what the industry did in cloak and dagger fashion as a superimposition of their ideas on cinema reality. It's important to note the issues and developments in my blog as academic scholars and get to work on these issues, not to wait. There are too many things that still stand to be established about how, for example, sports media has entertained themselves out in our Commonwealth by creating reputations of people who they're demeaning and humiliating. There are things that the celebrity superstate has called attention to themselves concerning. Robert Fripp's consorting with the Ouspensky crowd is a good example. There are many things that need to be fleshed out about what Bly Sanders said, meant, and did, who he knew, and how he persuaded them, while remaining so low profile he was virtually invisible and impossible to detect. What is the meaning of a gang who create a surrogate reality where they play off little incidents and give their own versions in order to cover up for a huge organized crime? How is it that the arc of history goes back through cinema to a man who made a film of the birth of a nation, an epic about the invisible empire, who should be the person who hid so much that came to pass and how it came to pass? The fourth dimensional politics of the Cubist difference with the Italian futurists, how the Ouija Freddy came to introduce D.W. Griffith and Mussolini to one another, the role of Marinetti, and of course Blas Sanders and other as yet to be discovered persons of literature on the sidelines of the theories being developed by men like Walter Benjamin and Henry Bergson, putting them into practice and networking with the great figures of science, of cinema, and Cubism. What did they plan and how did they hide it? What was the meaning of what they planned and what they hid? The surrogate attention to philosophy of cinema gives rise to questions that they themselves ponder as to whether or not greater truths can be subscribed in tales that bend reality. We have to ponder these issues, not just because they did, but because an unconscionable attack has taken place. And many of the great men who we respect are behind it. And we have to question the drift in the direction of sacrificing huge segments of the planet to heat and deluge and chaos in order to promote an egotistical vision from the silent screen. The silver screen? What do we mean when we say that we consider celebrities heroic representatives of the people? Do we just eradicate people in their names? Is it all to be thrown on the altar of a mysterious war game that was built in the peninsula, the hidden empire of Major League Baseball? What are we asking ourselves when we ask ourselves what is the truth about the condition of our society after what we just went through? These things trace back to a masterpiece of whodunit. What? How dare we call it a masterpiece? The art of war has its centrality, defending the innocent and the weak as only a last resort against true aggression. No other act is possible to label a masterpiece, and yet these people super produced. I hate the word Megadeth. It's a band of some sort, and I don't like the 80s. It's hard memories. But we've allowed these things to go undocumented. The narrative framework of our history has fallen into the vacuum in which Bly Sanders sits as an invisible hand. From the Ouspensky crowd, the fourth dimensional crowd, the Italian futurists around Mussolini. They've come and taken a whole swath, and it was encrypted in the superstructural narrative that I uncovered as Hitler Reagan semiotics. But now we know even more about it, that it traces back to the days when Prokofiev and Picasso were in the company of Ouspensky, Kharkiv. Look at my notes and my blogs. Try to get together with administration of universities and put scholarship to work on understanding these issues. Understand them for what they are. Don't play the plastic of the game that they're offering you to play. Document for real what they did and who they've been and how they went about it and what their mindset was. Don't settle for less than the truth. There's times in politics when people need to be judgmental. And academic freedom doesn't mean marginalizing people who are after the truth. These people want it to be. They call themselves things like plastic reality. Don't wait for me to do this work. Get on it and get after it. I'm very concerned with this oversight.